How are you? I'd like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey. And I wish that it was the Rocky Horror Picture Show, but it's not. It's actually the Flying Meat Horror Show. That's where I'm taking you today. Seeing as how it's almost, we just celebrated 4 years of the newest era of this channel, which had actually been around for a long time, but any which way. No. um we used to do one of the early features that I used to do on this channel. I love doing this, and I kind of ran out of steam. I don't know what it was. I ran out of steam. But what I love to do is I love to read interesting Wikipedia articles. Jeff reads Wikipedia. That was the whole idea, was to look at strange phenomena. It could be anything, but we would read the Wikipedia article and sort of react. We talked about guys like Terrer, the strange Frenchman that allegedly ate a toddler. Yeah, crazy stuff. Or witch doors from Connecticut, or Spring Heel Jack, or the Green Man, or grain entrapment. Just really interesting stuff. Interesting, weird, wild, wacky history. Love that stuff. And yeah, we're back at it today. We're bringing it back a little. We're not bringing it back. We've been doing it this whole time. We sort of moved on from Wikipedia. Now it's more about Atlas Obscura, which is one of my favorite websites to go to. Such interesting, fascinating articles and stories about, and most of it's aggregated from other places on the internet that have far more detailed information. Although I always find that you end up getting bogged down in the details. So let's get the details of what the Kentucky meat shower was. I mean, think about those words together. Kentucky meat shower. That is a strange combination of words to put into a sentence, and yet they're in a sentence for a reason, because indeed, in March of 1876, that is what happened. Though there are accounts of a meat shower. You heard correctly, a shower of meat that occurred. Let's look at the details, and we're going to use Wikipedia to do such a thing. Let's take a look here. The Kentucky meat shower was an incident occurring for a period of several minutes between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. on March 3rd, 1876, where what appeared to be chunks of red meat fell from the sky in a 100 by 50 yard, 90 by 45 meter area near Olympia Springs in Bath County, Kentucky. Now, what's amazing right off the bat? The accuracy by which, I mean, there's no one has taken any photos. There's no photos of this incident, right? So the idea, the detail, there's no video, there's no film, there's no nothing. So the meticulous detail of taking note of these things that really allow us to further paint a picture of what this meat shower could have been, are, just show, I don't know, add to the gravitas of the sort of the situation. There existed several explanations, from blood rain to vulture ejecta. I guess vulture ejecta is when vultures drop stuff down from the sky. Blood rain, or red rain, is a phenomenon in which blood is perceived to fall from the sky in the form of rain. Cases have been recorded since Homer's Iliad. Composed approximately 8th century BC and are widespread. Before the 17th century, it was generally believed that the rain was actually blood. I'm not going to go further from that, but read all about blood rain if you want to know more. They assume that it was blood rain. It was not. As to how this occurred and what the quote-unquote meat was, although the exact type of meat was never identified, various reports suggest it was beef, lamb, deer, bear, horse, or possibly human. So that's the strangest part of the story, is the fact that they were never able to identify what kind of meat fell from the sky, except that meat fell from the sky. Now, in my mind, what obviously happened was some being on a spaceship was coming to visit Earth, and clearly their ship exploded or something, and all of the people on board or beings on board exploded with the ship and caused meat to rain down on the citizens of Kentucky for several minutes between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. and on March 3rd, 1876. What more in depth here, a farmer's wife, Mrs. Crotch, was making soap because that's what you did back in the day. It was easier to make soap maybe than buy it. Was making soap on her porch when she reported seeing a piece of meat fall from the sky. She said she was 40 steps from her house when meat started to slap the ground. I mean, I can almost imagine this as like the cold open in an HBO show, like some, prestige HBO show. It like says there's like a title card, Kentucky, 1876. And then you see the woman, she's making soap and meat just starts falling from the sky. That's perfect. Mrs. Crotch, and I love her name is Mrs. Crotch, of course, Mrs. Crotch making soap. Mrs. Crotch and her husband believe the event was a sign from God. The phenomenon was covered by Scientific American, the New York Times, and other publications. And that's interesting, too, the notion that, today, maybe people still would think it's a sign from God. But back then and throughout human history, there was no way to explain this sort of stuff. I mean, there still really is a way to explain it. There was no way. But for instance, when people talk about UFOs today and like the Tic Tacs that are floating in the sky and all the unsealed released reports, people don't think that's an act of God. People assume that it's aliens. People turn to science or science-based things. But back then, it's like, what else could that be but an act of God or a sign of God? Very interesting. Most of the pieces of meat were approximately 2 by 2 inches. So they were little 2-inch cubes, and at least one was 4 by 4 inches. The meat appeared to be beef, but according to the first report in Scientific American, 2 men who tasted it. So you're tasting strange mystery meat falling from the sky. 2 men who tasted it judged it to be lamb or deer. Writing in the Sanitarian, Leopold Brandeis identified the substance as nostoc, a type of I know that word. I can't say cyanobacteria. Nostoc, also known as star jelly, troll's butter, spit of the moon, falling star, witch's butter, and witch's jelly is the most common genus of cyanobacteria found in a variety of both aquatic and terrestrial environments that may form colonies comprised of filaments and of monoliform cells. So that seems like it could be a very good Occam's razor. What is Occam's razor? It's the most likely explanation for why something happens. That seems like it could be a pretty good razor, if you ask me. Brandeis gave the meat sample to Newark Scientific Association for further analysis, leading to a letter from Dr. Alan McLean Hamilton appearing in the medical record and stating the meat had been identified as lung tissue from either a horse or a human infant. Never mind. Wow, I guess that throws the razor right out the window, right? No Occam's razor there. Holy shit. I was not expecting that. I did not pre-read this as I do. I like to be surprised with you. The structure of the organ in these two cases being almost identical. The composition of the sample was backed up by further analysis, with 2 samples of the meat being identified as lung tissue, 3 as muscle, and 2 as cartilage. So I guess that rules out the nostoc. It's not. Yeah, I agree. The devil says, if I had a nickel, ... right? Man, what you really need to do is you have to have a mystery meat barbecue. And that's where you go outside, you wait for the meat shower to start, you get the charcoal nice and hot, or the propane grill, whatever it is, and you just do hibachi. You open, it's kind of like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and you just open it up and you just let it fall in from the sky, and you have yourself a party, man. Like, that's what I would do in that kind of situation. Brandeis's nostoc theory relied on the fact that nostoc expands in a clear jelly-like mass when rain falls on it, often giving the sense as if it was falling with the rain. Charles Fort. So he's saying that it never fell from the sky and that it simply was there and it expanded from rain that came down. Charles Fort noted in his first book, Book of the Damned, of course, you would write about meat showers in Book of the Damned, that there had been no rain. Locals favored the explanation that the meat was vomited up by buzzards, who, as in their custom, seeing one of their companions disengorged himself, immediately followed suit. Hey, I think that also is a very good Occam's razor, man. The idea of a vulture ejecta. I mean, I guess that makes sense. That does explain how the meat could fall from the sky, how it could. Here's the issue here. Here's the brain fart, whatever the twist of the pretzel is. The meat has to come down from the sky, and the meat, what could possibly be host to meat in the sky that then falls from the sky, and why? And vultures, that probably makes the most sense, especially if it's like a pack of vultures. I don't know. And especially, apparently, they have a custom where if one of them vomits, then the others will follow suit. Dr. Louis D. Castenbein presented this theory in the contemporaneous Louisville Medical News as the best explanation of the variety of meat. Vultures vomit as part of making a quick escape and also as a defensive method when threatened. So if you're making a fast exit, flying up overhead, that's what you got to do. Ford explained the flattened, dry appearance of the meat chunks as the result of pressure. Noted that 9 days later, on March 12, 1876, red corpuscles with a vegetable appearance fell over London, Kentucky. So it happened again. Something else happened, something else similar. So that's like that's the story, right? That's the actual story of the meat shower. Now, what Atlas Obscura has published is a very interesting sort of thread connection. The artist trying to explain Kentucky's meat shower of 1876, a historical head scratcher, inspired the world's worst jelly bean flavor. What? Meat flavored jelly beans. I've actually tried meat flavored jelly beans right on this channel. You can check out that review for it was the late night Taco Bell jelly beans from Brach's, and they had a beef taco flavored jelly bean, and it was absolutely disgusting. This is by Marina Wang from February 7th, 2020, and we're going to read it right now. But before we do, we need to talk about our sponsor, Riot Stickers. That's right. Riot Stickers is the sponsor of the Frumess channel, and we have a special deal. You can get 200 stickers for $69. You go to riotstickers.com/Frumess. These stickers, the thing about a die cut sticker is you can make any shape. You can make a vulture shaped sticker. If you want to depict a meat shower and you want your sticker to be in the shape of a meat shower, you can do that with a die cut sticker, because they use a computer guided scalpel to cut different shapes into stickers. And computer guided scalpel would make a fantastic metal band name. Somebody needs to jump on that right now. And you can get 200 of those for $69 at riotstickers.com/Frumess. That's FRUMESS. Let's play our theme song for Riot Stickers, and then we will dive in to this artist trying to explain Kentucky's meat shower of 1876.
Posters and promo cards, there's nothing we can't print for you. From stage backdrops to bass drum heads, we can print on shirts, we can print on hats, we can print on pants. Cheap prices and high quality,
And that is a promise. Okay, let's take a look here. Let's take a look-see at the article. Here is the meat shower here shown falling on Mrs. Crotch, causing confusion across the nation. And this was illustrated by James Fosdyke. Fosdyke. Interesting depiction here, the meat shower here. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you so you can really get a good gander at what we're dealing with here. Okay, now back. Let's see what this view. No, that view's terrible. This is the best view. Okay, let's say every October. All right, this is what I did not know. It's not mentioned in the Wikipedia article. Every October, around 200,000 people gather in Kentucky for Court Days, the largest outdoor event in the state. Ever since 1794, locals have brought, traded, or sold various goods at the festival held in the city of Mount Sterling. But in one of the strangest offerings in Court Days history, Kurt Goad, is that how you say his name? Professor of art at Transylvania University. I mean, if you're going to be talking about meat showers, you got to go to Transylvania University for that. Handed out meat-flavored jelly beans in 2007 to anyone who would eat them. I would eat them hand over fist if he handed me one. Like I said, the one that I tried was not that great, but you know, when I think back, when I look at the life that I lived, I want to live the life where I tried meat-flavored jelly beans as opposed to the life where I did not try meat-flavored jelly beans. So there you go. No regrets, baby. Some people say that the flavor of dark red jelly beans reminded them of raw bacon. I don't know what raw bacon. I would never eat raw bacon. That's how you get really sick. But I would eat cooked bacon, and a cooked bacon jelly bean would probably be very tasty. Imagine if Jelly Belly did bacon jelly beans with maple jelly beans. You can have a maple, you combine the maple jelly bean with the bacon jelly bean, you get a maple bacon jelly bean. Boom, that's fucking fantastic. Another pair agreed with each other that they tasted like strawberry pork chop. That sounds delicious, actually. And another great name for a band, although I would imagine that would be like a psychedelic band, Strawberry Pork Chop. Goad, who commissioned the jelly beans with their specific flavor profile, described them as tasting like a heavily sugared bacon with a metal aftertaste. Okay. And, you know, if you've ever tasted blood, we've all tasted blood in some way, shape, or form. It has that sort of irony aftertaste, or, you know, of course you have, like you're eating a steak or whatnot. The jelly beans were flavored like the 1876 meat shower, a mysterious event where chunks of flesh rained down over the nearby Olympia Springs one early March day. Goad had hoped that the meat connoisseurs at Court Days might help him determine the true identity of the mysterious substance. Goad, like the foremost expert on meat rain, first learned about the incident in a book about strange weather phenomena more than 20 years ago. Was this book Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs? He had just moved to Kentucky from upstate New York. Oh, we're not in upstate New York, but we're right next to upstate New York. And was keen on asking his students more details about the unusual event. To his surprise, none of them knew what he was talking about. Here is Kurt, and he has been fascinated by the meat shower for decades. Imagine being obsessed with an event that occurred for a few minutes, hundreds of years ago. I mean, actually, I think there's a lot of people who are like that. So there you go. Goad, an artist often drawn to the strange and obscure, was fascinated by the meat shower. I have a tremendous appetite for wonder, he says. I believe people need to wonder in their lives. Like Kurt, I could not agree more. I know I do. Eager to learn more, he trawled Google Books, old newspaper clippings, and research papers for mentions of the incident. One article dating on March 9th, 1876, that was a few days after the incident, that was 6 days after the incident, and reprinted the next day in the New York Times, described a Mrs. Crotch who was in her yard. Crotch. No, I guess Crouch. Actually, I was pronouncing that wrong. I wanted to say Crotch. It looks like Crotch. It's actually Crouch. That's how you say her name. A Mrs. Crouch, who was in her yard making soap when flecks of meat began to fall around her. The sky was, of course, there's only one. She's literally the Chicken Little of Kentucky in 1876. The sky was perfectly clear at the time, and she said she felt she said it felt like large snowflakes, read the article. One piece flew near her, which was 3 to 4 inches square. Two men then tasted the raw meat. Why would you eat raw meat from the sky, especially if it was in the stomach of a vulture? Two men that tasted the raw meat thought that it might be mutton or venison. And venison's a type of, like a deer, and mutton obviously is like a lamb, like an adult lamb. And the Crouch family cat gorged on the fortuitous feast. Ooh, I love that. What a great sentence. The Crouch family cat gorged on the fortuitous feast. Theories regarding the origin of the meat shower abounded. One early idea was that the meat was actually nostoc, and we already talked about that, a type of bacteria that swells to look like a clump of seaweed when exposed to moisture. It's not a bad scientific explanation. However, lab tests confirmed that the meat shower was actually bits of muscle, lung, cartilage, dashing the idea. Another disconcertingly violent theory Goad discovered proposed that two brothers had gotten into a knife fight, and a twister picked up the gory carnage and deposited it over the residents of Olympia Springs. That is actually another really good explanation. Of course, it was a meat tornado, that brought the meat shower. Absolutely. I love this idea. And of course, a knife fight. They're the death by 1,000 cuts. They're slicing at each other with knives until a tornado sweeps them away. That is so funny, wonderful, awesome, grotesque. The taste, frankly, is so vile. Goad's favorite theory, however, okay, so that's not even his favorite theory. That's my favorite theory so far. Goad's favorite theory, however, is one proposed by the humorist William Livingston Alden. Okay, I want to know how to become a humorist. Do they mean like a humorist? Okay, so back in the day, the humors, that was like a medical term, right? Like you had the 4 humors. Is like a humorist just like a form of doctor, or is a humorist just someone who makes humorous musings all day? And how can I get paid to do that? I guess I kind of am by doing this on the internet right now. Let's look up what humorist means. Humorist, a humorist, writer, performer, artist, comic writer, writer of comedy, wit, wag, funny man, funny woman. Okay, so I guess like a humorist, like a comedian. Williams says the obvious conclusion is that the Kentucky shower of meat was really a meteor shower, wrote Alden in the New York Times article published on March 11th, 1876. Okay, so he's known as a humorist. That's like, people had funny names. I'm trying to think of another one. Like there were all sorts of funny job titles back in the day, like old-timey job titles. So instead of being a comedian or a funny man, you were a humorist. That's great. So William wrote this on March 11th, 1876. The article explains that since meteor stones constantly revolve around the sun, it would also stand to reason there revolves about the sun a belt of venison, mutton, and other meats, divided into small fragments, which are precipitated about the earth. So he's claiming that somewhere in our orbital celestial heavens, there are belts, just the way that we have the asteroid belt. There is a belt of venison or mutton or what have you, and brings forth all sorts of weather with it because of gravity, I guess. That is a strange observation. I think I like the knife fight meat tornado. I never thought I would say that. In the year 2024, I will say on the internet, knife fight meat tornado. That's great. I don't know. Does anybody else find this as amusing as I do? I feel good and satisfied that I can amuse myself by simply reading this article in this way on the internet. I don't know. Alden continues to explain that previously scientists had theorized that meteors were the result of exploded planets. So the meat shower must be inhabitants who formerly occupied the wrecked planet. I mean, except that they would burn up in the atmosphere. Essentially, that the meat was exploded alien livestock. Okay. The article eventually goes so far as to suggest that scientists needed finer technology so they would be able to predict meat rain like the weather. The writer indulges in a full, here, now it's getting mentioned, cloudy with a chance of meatballs. I would imagine that at some point that would have come up in this conversation, right? Fantasy, writing that that light showers of beefsteak may be looked for in the New England and Middle States during the morning, followed by a heavy rain of mutton in the afternoon. Hilarious. William, you truly are a humorist. That is so funny. But a definitive explanation of the meat shower never reached the residents of Olympia Springs. In 1876, the idea of solving every riddle just didn't exist yet. So people were largely okay with a relatively plausible solution, and then they would just move on. Isn't that I mean, I could literally pull that like taffy. I don't want to right now. I want to get through this article, but like, I kind of do. Like the idea that back in the day, I mean, like, how does that apply in today's world? Do we just scour the internet until we find an explanation that we like? The idea of like, okay, we can't solve this riddle. I mean, that is the beauty of a pre-internet age where we just allow imagination or simply just being okay with unknowing and just focused, because we have so much information at our fingertips. We can go on the internet and scour endlessly for an answer, or we assume that the answer must be somewhere within our reach. And back then, it's like if you did have the ability to read, and you did have a book, and the answer wasn't in there, you simply had to shrug your shoulders and go back to making soap on the farm, and then people would just move on. I think we would all be a lot happier if we just moved on in certain instances. In other instances, I don't think so. I think we need to always be searching and finding. Now, look at this. This is an actual sample. God damn, stupid thing reloads. This is an actual sample right here of the meat. Isn't that crazy? Look at that. Look at that. That's the meat. That's meat, baby. That's meat in a jar. A fateful jar of meat samples from the shower over Olympia Springs. Now, listen, if I was as eccentric as Nicolas Cage, if I had the money, if I had the disposable income of Nicolas Cage, and I was buying strange objects like dinosaur skulls like Nicolas Cage, only to have to give them back to the country of Mongolia, but that's a whole other story that we should discuss someday. I think I would, if this was available for auction, I would be buying a jar of meat from the meat shower from 1876 in Kentucky. Like, how do you not buy a meat jar? But Goad didn't. Fascinated with the meat shower to begin with, a serendipitous find in 2004 stoked his ardor. Let's look up the word ardor. Ardor. It's a British word. Enthusiasm or passion. Great word. Stoked his ardor. Oh man, I'm stealing that one. That's a $20 word right there. Fascinated with the meat shower to begin with, a serendipitous find in 2004 stoked his ardor even further. He was clearing out storage closets at Transylvania University. Yes. He found the fucking jar of meat with a cork. He found the jar of meat at Transylvania University. Is that not fucking precious? He stumbled upon an old glass jar sealed with a cork stopper. It contained a chunk of white, fatty looking meat, which looks like bacon. I don't know if you can see that up above. It looks kind of like a piece of bacon. Of white, fatty looking meat suspended in a pale yellow liquid. The label was faded, but the words Olympia Springs could still be made out. Goad was thrilled. Could you imagine like being obsessed with this phenomena and then finding this like relic? That would fucking blow my mind. Determined to try and pinpoint what mystery animal rained down over Olympia Springs, Goad worked with a colleague in the biology department to have the sample genetically tested. Unfortunately, the sample was too old and contaminated to give any conclusive results. That is a shame. Then Goad got creative. Much of his artwork involved community engagement, so he had a taste lab based in Cincinnati analyze the flavor compounds of the meat sample and reconstruct the taste in Jelly Bean. I'm like so close to having an aneurysm of excitement and awesome. The story just got so much fucking cooler. Okay, let's process this. A dude reads about the meat shower. He's obsessed with it. He finds a relic, an actual jar of the meat from the meat shower, the mystery meat. He can't get it analyzed. He can't get its DNA structure analyzed at the lab. So he does the next best thing. He has a taste lab in Cincinnati analyze the flavor compounds of the meat sample so that he can have it reconstructed in jelly bean form and then give it to people so that they can taste a meat jelly bean made out of real meat that fell from the sky. That is so fucking sorry. Like that enthusiasm is absolutely genuine because that was not expecting to read that just now. I mean, that is fucking mind-boggling. How are you not fucking, is your mind not blown from that idea? And that's the beauty too of like being an artist and like, you know, taking conceptually taking something and hey, let's do something really like weird, crazy, interesting, making meat. What a fucking fantastic conceptual art installation type thing. So Goad wanted to educate local Kentuckians about the curious climatic event, and if anything, jelly beans would be a great conversation starter. I'm in love with this story. I was fascinated with the idea that people would just eat it and then declare what it tasted like. He says. So it's like we're gonna have like a symposium where we're all gonna communally get together and decide what the mystery meat tastes like. And this is the closest approximation of how we could do it. And the fact that he was able to get a hold of the sample, like, shouldn't have this been in a museum? How the fuck did he find this? This is so crazy. What a crazy fucking story. Goad drove to Cincinnati and picked up more than 1,000 of the meat shower jelly beans, packed them in small metal tins. Goad waited till he got home to try them. Parked in his driveway, he popped one in his mouth. He said the taste, frankly, is so vile. He says with a chuckle. I remember thinking it was really strong. The first one I ate tasted like chemicals and sugar. Accounts from 1876 describe the meat shower as tasting like mutton, although Goad thinks the jelly beans lack the distinct muttony flavor. Muttony flavor is a great, now I know exactly what to think, because if you've ever tasted mutton, it has like that kind of like barnyardy sort of, I can't describe it, like the musky, earthy kind of flavor to it. He thought the Kentucky court days would be a good place to talk to locals and gather opinions on what the meat could be. So he turned this into an art project at an event. I can't think of anything more wonderful or fascinating than what he chose to do. I'm so glad that we read about the incident and then read this story. It couldn't have been better. Feedback varied, but ultimately Goad didn't arrive at a definitive consensus. And I think if he had arrived at a definitive consensus, it would have sort of been bittersweet. We want to always revel in this mystery. This is not for us to know. We are not to know what meat made up the meat shower of Kentucky in 1876. Alas, Goad found that the most likely explanation for the meat shower and its contents, alas, Goad found the most likely explanation for the meat shower and its contents in articles published in Louisville Medical News and the American Journal of Microscopy in 1876. Several scientists believed that the meat shower was the result of vomiting vultures, a theory first proposed by an unnamed Ohio farmer. So that's your Occam's razor. Kentucky is home to the turkey vultures that gorge themselves on carrion, limiting their ability to fly. If spooked, the birds need to immediately take flight and lighten their load by regurgitating their last meal. As it turns out, the unlucky Mrs. Crouch was likely rained on by a buzzard barf blizzard. Oh, by a buzzard barf blizzard. What another great band name. We've got so many great band names in this. Strawberry Pork Chop and Buzzard Barf Blizzard. Actually, that would be the album title from the debut album from Strawberry Pork Chop would be Buzzard Barf Blizzard. Say that again like 20 more times, Buzzard Barf Blizzard. One of the articles also posits that it's possible that the vultures feasted on sheep treated with strychnine, a poison used to target coyotes. Hey, we're going to use these sheep for various purposes, possibly to eat, possibly for their wool, but we're going to fucking poison them so that coyotes will be less likely to eat them. The vultures may have vomited in response to feeding on poisoned meat that then people picked up and put in their fucking mouths. Now Goad wants to take his fascination with the meat shower even further. He's in the early stages of conceptualizing a collaborative community art project that would recreate the events of March 3rd, 1876 by dropping meat from the sky over Olympia Springs. This is this guy. First of all, he should be a professor. These are the people that we need at our colleges. These are the people that should be shaping minds and or leading, government funded art collectives to do thoroughly interesting. Like, to me, this is what the meaning of life is, to do things like this. This is beautiful. This is so fucking beautiful to me. I love that. He hopes that by sharing the story of the meat shower through his art, more Kentuckians will take interest in the strange chapter of state history. As for his jelly beans, he still has a few tins tucked away at his studio. No one has ever wanted to try them twice. That might be next to the Gabagool article that we read many years ago. That might be the best Atlas Obscura article I have ever fucking read. That was so great. Listen, is there like a strange, bizarre phenomena that you want to discuss on the show or that you think that I should check out? Let me know. Leave it in the comments. Tell me what do we need to talk about? That was the meat shower. So that's it. That's all I got. So I'm going to go. Peace, hair grease. Yeah, nice short show, right? We're not going crazy. We're not going hog wild. We did a show that was an hour and 15 yesterday. I'm leaving. I'm going. Bye. Peace. I'll see you soon.